Has Alabama lost any grip it had on the number one wide receiver in the country?
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I'm Luke Robinson. That's Alabama internet legend Jimmy Stein, and this is Locked On Bama. Got a lot to talk about today. Congrats to the baseball team for winning yesterday. They got another game tonight and tomorrow, and then softball gets started today. Jimmy will be there, so he'll have some reports later on. Also want to talk about a key Alabama player getting some sense of vindication, and also going to do the roster countdown. We're going to start with Monshun Sales. This is a guy whose nickname is Bama because he is from Alabama originally. He is the number one wide receiver in the country. Amazing prospect. Lots of fun and electricity about him. And he's perfect for this system. It felt like Alabama was in the driver's seat at one time. Then it felt like, well, maybe Texas and maybe Ohio State and maybe some other things. And now he has been phone-bombed to Indiana, which is – it's not as good as a law block because we're undefeated, but it ain't far.
Yeah, a phone bomb is still a pretty big deal these days. He doesn't miss often, though he does miss, and that's why. And first of all, I think there's an overreaction to this particular phone bomb in this sense. As of now, Monshun Sales says he's going to go on visits, and not just to Alabama, that he plans on making all of his official visits. That's when it gets very serious. That's when, of course, Alabama will make its best offer, in terms of financially, what the financials might be. I think in that sense, there was an overreaction. But I say that, and I'm like, okay, well, we do have to come down from the clouds and realize this was always going to be very difficult. This was always going to be very difficult. I think the people that are most upset are people that somehow talk themselves into believing that just because this kid is from Alabama and is an Alabama fan and loved that Alabama offer, that made him some sort of a lock for Alabama, when other schools who are of championship pedigree and seven-figure deals, when they came calling, that it was like, no, I'm just an Alabama fan. Forget all that. So I think those people are very disappointed today, and they should be, because I think now it was just always going to be very difficult to land Sales, and I think we sort of fooled ourselves into thinking this is something that was likely to happen. I don't know that it was ever likely to happen. Now I would say it's unlikely to happen. But it's not over, and Alabama will continue to recruit Monshun hard, and they will make a very competitive offer. We'll get into the money in just a minute, but because the money is a big deal, and some people, of course, take the opinion, just blank check, tell them to fill it in. Roster building is difficult, and having a philosophy about recruiting high school players is one thing, but who out there believes that Monshun Sales should make more money than Ryan Williams? Who thinks he should make more money than Lottie Brooks? I mean, that's sort of an issue that you have here, and it's something that Kalen DeBoer and Courtney Morgan and his staff have to always deal with in terms of what makes these things sort of complicated. You're muted. That's like 3 shows in a row. You're on a streak.
And I was so matter of fact, like, let me say this about that, and then you're like, you're muted. I'm like, so dumb. But so let me say this about that. That I don't think anybody would argue Monshun Sales at the moment deserves more than Ryan Williams or Lottie Brooks. However, the way things are going every year, it's almost like everything doubles. So your bottom guys make what your top guys made the year before. So he's probably going to get more, which again is another reason this is entirely screwed up.
But I would say he probably is. From someone else, he probably is. I mean, I don't know that. I mean, there's no way to know that, but I would guess yes.
So, well, I'm saying even on our roster, I mean, look, it wasn't that long ago where if you were talking about somebody making, is he worth $400,000? Well, $400,000 is the bottom end of a starter. Now, it's not the top guy. So now, I mean, you got apparently LSU's new quarterback, Sam, what's his name?
Levitt.
Sam Levitt, reportedly making $6 million. I mean, $6 million was what some people thought was going to be the price of a total roster 4 years ago. But what I'm saying is it's blowing up exponentially so quickly.
Well, reported numbers are. I will say reported numbers are. I mean, for instance, I mean, you know, we're not going to get into it. The subject bores too many people. There's a giant ruling on the behalf of an arbitrator against the collective, basically at Nebraska and University of Nebraska, who was trying to ram through a $7.5 million deal to a handful of players, and ILGO said no, this doesn't pass our test. Now, too many people look at the amounts and think that it's about the amounts. It's not the amounts. It's what services are being provided. What are they doing to earn this, and who is paying it? Who is paying it, and what are they doing to earn this? That's more relevant than the actual amounts. But the point is that NILGO is rejecting a lot of deals, quite a few, and that one, their decision to reject it was actually upheld by the arbitrator.
I don't want to spend the rest of the segment on this, but I'll say this, that makes me think about this latest thing with Jared Curtis, the five-star quarterback, number one quarterback in the class for last year, or by some services, because Jet Tamala was by some services. Jared Curtis signs with Vanderbilt. He flips from Georgia last second. And it comes to light that he's going to be in Nate Bargatze's comedy called The Breadwinner, which I'm scared. I'm scared it's not going to be good. And I love Nate. I've been on the Nate train for a long time. And I know this is the natural progression. Like, he's got to do a movie. I'm scared it's going to suck. I hope it doesn't suck. But a lot of times those kind of movies suck. Regardless, Jared Curtis, apparently, as part of his NIL deal, was promised to role in this movie. Now, it's a small bit role, but it doesn't pass the smell test to me. I mean, I don't see how you can promise film roles, and I just don't get that. But now, I don't want to get into it. I'm just saying, now, from Alabama perspective, if Monshun Sales is trending away, and it certainly feels that way, and if he doesn't end up at Alabama, then I think that puts a lot more pressure on Alabama to get Xavier, Sabb, and Osani Gales.
Yes, that's true. I do think Alabama needs to do well at wide receiver this cycle. Last year, they did sign 4 guys, but really only one was a headline maker, and Cedarian Morgan. The other guys were really, based on their recruiting rankings, you could say they were really more depth guys. Maybe Tyler Henderson has a chance to play the JUCO. So they actually signed 5 guys. But, this year they need to hit more home runs, and I think that means getting at least a couple of guys that have a chance to be really good. And I would put, if it's not going to be Monshun Sales, and right now it doesn't look that way, though, again, his official visit to Alabama is still on. But if it's not going to be Monshun Sales, the next guys up are Xavier Sabb, and we all know him from being a Sabb brother, and Osani Gales from IMG Academy in Florida. I think he's up there. There's others they're in on, like Benny Easter, but I wouldn't count on that. But I do think they do have an excellent chance at Xavier Sabb and Osani Gales, who will not command the sort of price tag that a Sales can, because Sales, we talk this all the time, Luke. 5 stars aren't all the same. Some 5 stars are exceptional. Sales is more the exceptional. He's a 5-star in any cycle. When we jokingly call them 6 stars, that applies to Sales. He's a check every box, not just check every box. He's an A+ in every box: size, speed, hands, ability, production, measurables. It's got some it factor to him also. He's just going to command an extremely high price, and I think Alabama is going to make him an offer that is beyond what Alabama would normally do for a high school player. I think they will. Now, will it be enough? I don't know. I don't. This kid doesn't strike me as I'm going to the highest bidder type kid. I think he's going to take a lot of factors into consideration. But the money matters. Of course it does. If it matters to you, It's crazy to think it doesn't matter to him and his family.
Yeah. And again, you can't fault them. It's just don't hate the player. Literally, hate the game. Rocket Money. Ooh, problem there at takeoff. If you've ever opened your bank account and thought, where'd all my money go? You're not alone. Keeping track of subscriptions, spending, and bills can get overwhelming. It can get overwhelming. That's where Rocket Money comes in, helping you take control of your finances all in one place. It tracks all your subscriptions in one spot and can help cancel the ones you don't need with just a few taps. It automatically categorizes your spending so you can actually see where your money is going. And you can set budgets and get alerts and stay on top of upcoming bills. Just makes everything easier. That's what's great about it. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow them savings, yo. Let Rocket Money help you reach your financial goals faster. Join rocketmoney.com at rocketmoney.com/locked-on. Yeah, that's rocketmoney.com/locked-on. Jimmy Stein.
Yeah, we can do more to explode your subscriptions with Rocket Money.
I like the better. I do want to remind everybody that lockedonbama.supercast.com is available. We're open for business. And what it is $5 a month, $50 for the year. So you save $10 if you do it for the year. And it's great. The Discord page is the bomb. It's literally it's the bomb. And you need to go check it out. Jimmy's super active on there. So you can ask us questions. We try to answer them as quickly as possible. It's a lot of fun, man. That Discord page is something else. Of course, you get an ad-free podcast too. But highly recommend you join that. Like-minded people over there. Good like-minded people. So, Jimmy, now let's get to your roster countdown. And you were on a guy who I think – did he flip from Georgia? He flipped from Georgia, didn't he?
He flipped from Georgia. Yeah, 82. Corey Howard is who we're talking about today, just 82 days away from the start of fall camp. We started.
By the way, I think you got him too low.
You think
if
so?
He flipped from Georgia, I think it's just it's too low.
Well, I think that as a prospect, he's certainly a good prospect. The ranking is really more about who we're going to see this fall. And I think he's headed for a redshirt type year. I don't know if that term will be gone. But I do think Corey Howard is an excellent prospect, no doubt. But, man, our depth along the defensive line right now is so good. I know this sounds like heresy or some sort of sacrilegious or something that could get me imprisoned a couple thousand years ago. But I would say maybe our depth on the defensive line might be as good at any point as it was in the Saban era. And by depth, what I mean is the number of defensive linemen who are going to play with the ones is a crazy high number. So I'm projecting really that every defensive lineman signed by Alabama will, and I'm using air quotes here, redshirt this fall, including Corey Howard. I think one more reason Corey Howard could be put up on the shelf a little bit this fall is some people even refer to him as an edge prospect coming out of high school. He's really long, and at 6'6", 245, 6'6", 250, he looked like a college edge right then and there. But the projection for Corey Howard, much like Malik Franklin, who we've already talked about, is that this is going to be a 290-pound kid soon. So he's seen as an interior guy, and to be an interior guy, that's going to take a good year in the Alabama strength and conditioning program. So I think he's just more of a let's see where he's at next year. And hey, depth-wise, gosh, I mean, we could go through the whole list, but London Simmons and Devin Tompkins and Isaiah Faga and Jeremiah Beeman and Steve Boomois, all these guys are going to play significant snaps. This one, Edric Hill, who's also, I watched, by the way, I've been watching the Georgia game, the first one this week, and Edric Hill was really good in the Georgia game. I mean, that's pretty good competition, y'all might realize, but that's just another name of an interior defensive lineman that's going to be playing with the ones this fall. So I think Corey Howard has an excellent chance to be good. One thing I will say about you making a point about him flipping from Georgia, he wasn't ranked really high in the rankings, and this is more evidence of why we shouldn't care so much about that. If you're a defensive lineman from the South and Georgia wants you, and Alabama wants you, and they literally fight over you, why do we care where he's ranked? You know?
I mean, that's so true.
Yeah.
That's so. I mean, again, and I have some Auburn friends that love to say, "Well, Georgia offered him or whatever," and I'm like, "But you do have to understand too. Sometimes an offer isn't an offer. It's
Right.
You're offered, but so just because they got the offer check, but we know Georgia wanted him. He was committed there, and it wasn't like they were pushing him out the door. That happens sometimes too, but that wasn't what was happening there."
Yeah, I would watch for. I mean, it is true. Offers aren't always offers. Now, this kid was committed to Georgia, and Georgia fought to keep him and fought to flip him back. So that's a different thing than, quote, just an offer. But Luke's right. Sometimes offers aren't takes. An offer and a take are two different things. I would look for, if you're looking for clues, like read between the lines, like who's a take, who offered who. By that, if it's a position coach and he's out on the road, he makes an offer. That's one thing. Kalen DeBoer offering you in his office, that's something else, so pay attention to those sort of things.
Honest to God, one of the best looking women I ever went on a date with was from LSU, and I took her to I was sort of a blind date. I had no idea how good looking
she was. So she was blind.
Oh,
and that's why she went on the date with you.
Blind and deaf. Probably hard of smelling too. But so anyway, I take her to the Alabama LSU game in '93, the game we lose. To snap like this incredible winning streak we had, or non-losing streak, I should say. And I remember her saying something like, I can't remember what, but she was like, this really kind of isn't a date, right? And I was like, it just dawned on me, that was an offer that she, like, I couldn't commit.
That wasn't a take. It was an offer. You were offered. You were there.
I was offered because she was like, I guess she agreed to go on this date because I was a guy at Alabama to take for the free tickets.
She agreed to sit next to you in the stadium.
Take her to a party. And when she got there and she saw my measurable, she was like, "You're not a take." That's okay. I mean, it's not like I harbor any ill will about it, but anyway. So yeah, let me also say this too, sort of switching gears. So today or yesterday, I guess, the lawsuit, for those who don't remember, Dre Kirkpatrick was being sued by some kid in Oklahoma. If you remember when Oklahoma in 2024, when they beat us at their place, they stormed the field. And as they were storming the field, some Oklahoma kid, some student, tried to take a selfie with Dre Kirkpatrick in the background, and Dre Kirkpatrick just wasn't having it. And apparently Dre did punch him in the head or at least shove him or do something. That happened. Well, the judge threw it out, and because he said, look, there's signs everywhere. Don't do this. Don't storm the field. You assume your own risk. If you storm the field, you're a moron, because these guys are much bigger and stronger and faster than you. I don't care who you are. I don't even know what you look like, and they are. And so they threw it out, which I think is exactly the right thing to do. And that's why I'm so against court storming and field storming, because somebody's going to get killed eventually. Because if one of these guys connects with you right in the head, they will kill you. So it was thrown out. But, I got to say this about AL.com. Everybody talks about AL.com as being, the Bama news and all this. I thought it was kind of crappy. Well, wait a minute. Actually, this isn't being shown from AL.com. It's being shown from somewhere else. Wherever this is from. This is from On3. I thought this was a really crappy way to end this article. Let me tell you what it says. It says, Kirkpatrick was a true freshman at the time, and here we go. Unfortunately, off-field issues have been a problem for Kirkpatrick. He spent time during the 2025 season suspended for an unrelated arrest. Okay. Yeah, that is true. But that has nothing to do with the fact that some moron stormed the field and was being a smartass and paid the price for it. That has nothing to do with that. And by the way, this was an on-the-field incident.
Yeah, and I can assure everyone as a lawyer, this is a legal opinion that's true. Had that trial proceeded and the plaintiff's lawyer representing the kid that got injured wanted to introduce evidence that Dre had gotten in other trouble at Alabama for whatever, it would not have been allowed into evidence. It's allowed into these articles because I guess it's just kind of clickbait type thing. It's allowed into these articles, but it would not have been allowed into evidence in the trial because it is 100% irrelevant to what happened in the specific Oklahoma case, which is all the jury would get to hear about it. And I assumed that this would be dismissed because for the reasons that it was. And Luke's right. I mean, hey, don't go down there. If you do, don't complain about what happens. Don't complain about what happens when you're told repeatedly, don't go down there. There's signs not to go down there. Everyone knows not to go down there. Everyone assumes the assumption of risk is a major legal thing. So are things like contributory negligence.
Let me say this too, Jimmy. You're a lawyer, so I mean, you probably have more thoughts on this than I, and more complicated and true thoughts. But so yes, the other day here in Alabama, Lake Martin, where I grew up right on Lake Martin, and there's a famous rock called Chimney Rock. It's actually Acapulco Rock that everybody calls Chimney Rock. It's not really. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But people climb up to the top and jump off the top of it. And the other day, unfortunately, a group from Columbus, Georgia, recent graduates, all of Alabama, I think actually, there were like 10 of them, and they spent time jumping off, and one of them jumped off and didn't come back up. And he unfortunately and very tragically perished, and awful stuff and sad. But I had lunch with a lawyer friend of mine yesterday, and I said, "No, I'm just curious." I said, I know it's probably not time for them to talk about it, but like somebody's going to sue somebody, right? And he said, no, actually, all that land is Alabama power, and there is an assumption of risk. He used that same terminology you did. And so for me, as not a non-law talking guy, I'm glad to know there's still assumption of risk, because I've gotten so used to everybody sues everybody for everything, when I think, hey, if you storm a field or the court and you get punched in the face, that's kind of on you. Like, I'm sorry. And it sucks that your face is messed up. That sucks. But I like when you do something dumb and it has a consequence, you can't just sue somebody. Yeah. I like that.
Well, take it from me, someone that was inside the legal system for a long time and had a lot to do with lawsuits and all other things. Everybody out there is going to have a story. Everyone's going to have a story, and they read something, or they were told by somebody, or everyone's going to have a story of some weird thing about the court system. But in my experience, extensive experience with it, most of the time, these things are brought to their logical conclusion. Most of the time. Now, again, everyone's going to have their weird story, and everyone's going to have one time. Yeah, that I'm sure there are crazy results, just like there's crazy results in football games. But most of the time, those things come to their logical conclusion. An assumption of risk is definitely a thing. In fact, in Alabama, contributory negligence is a bar to recovery, meaning that if you contributed at all to your injuries, you get nothing. That's an Alabama rule that's not the same. In other states have what's called comparative negligence, where it's about the percentage of fault. But in Alabama, if you're at fault, even a little bit, you get nothing.
That's why I love this state. So baseball wins yesterday over Ole Miss. Kind of dramatic fashion, too. I mean, it felt like Alabama look, you and I have been on a text chain with a bunch of friends of ours forever that are all Alabama fans. And we've got one guy on there that said, when we make the tournament, we're going to be the worst hosting team in the history of this thing, because statistically and mathematically, we're not very good, but we keep winning. I don't get it. I don't understand it. It's like we're not good at the plate. We're not good at the field. We're not good in errors or lack thereof, and we keep winning. And I don't understand it. And Jimmy crack corn, and I don't care.
Yeah, this team has some when they're bad, they're bad. I think I said it on the Locked On Squad show. I said, Locked On Baseball Squad, that Alabama could like beat the Dodgers and then the next night lose to that league of their own team that had Rosie O'Donnell and Madonna on it. I mean, they could do that. That's what this team is. But you add it all up, and there's a lot more on the plus side than the negative side. It's kind of hard to explain because the statistics say this is a very average or even bad SEC team. Now, I do think some of it is you're in the SEC, and so much of the statistics are being amassed against the best teams in the sport. That's some of it. And there's one element of the team that's been very consistent. This is something I'll own I was a little wrong about. I also said on Baseball Squad Locked On earlier this year, before the SEC season started, I said the starting pitching, they have some quality starters. The three guys that they're planning to be the starting pitchers, they're all interesting and they all merit a spot. But I don't think they have any Friday night guy. They don't have a Friday night guy. And by a Friday night guy, what I mean is a true ace. I think all in all, there was something to what I said being true, but starting pitching is why Alabama is where they're at, because Tyler Fay, Zane Adams, and Miles Upchurch have been remarkably consistent. They're not shutdown guys. And I know Tyler Fay one night he threw a no-hitter. Unbelievable. But for the most part, week to week, they're just starting pitchers that consistently keep Alabama in the game and give the offense a chance. And the offense has come through enough times. So the starting pitching, I think, is why they're where they are, because Tyler Fay, Zane Adams, and Miles Upchurch have done a really good job. They're the only three-man rotation in the SEC that has made every start, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, all season long. They're the only one out of 16 teams in the SEC.
Let me be sure I'm saying this right. All we've got to do is win one more game against Ole Miss, and we are guaranteed a double bye.
I believe that's true.
Because we have the tiebreaker with Auburn.
I believe that's true. And I believe that would also, even in my mind, more importantly, and this is more subjective, clinch a super regional host. And Alabama hasn't hosted a super. I have to look it up. When's the last time Alabama hosted a super, meaning if they win the regional and make it to a super regional, Alabama is going to host that series. Now it will be against somebody crazy good, but man, I can't recall off the top of my. I think I remember us hosting North Carolina in the super regional.
They had a pitcher that was ridiculous.
Yeah, they did have a first round, and we lost. I think even though we hosted at home, we lost because North Carolina had unbelievable arm or two. That's the last time I can remember off the top of my head. And I can't remember what year that was. I think it was something like 2009, but I'm not sure about that.
No, I remember that. I remember watching some of that because if it was 2009, I was so football ingrained at the time. I mean, I was just in football really hard. And I remember watching it at a sports bar with some people and going, "Oh, that pitcher looks really good." Unfortunately, we're playing him. And then softball, we got softball today. Jimmy's going to go to it. And, frankly, we should win this, and then we should beat LSU, if you ask me. I think anything short of that at this point would be a disappointment.
It'll be, based on what this team has accomplished, anything short of getting the World Series is a disappointment. Now, there will be some that say, yeah, get to the World Series and win. Well, that's easier said than done because those 8 teams in Oklahoma City are going to all be really good. As a matter of fact, we might have Gray Robertson on soon. We ought to do that. The voice of Alabama softball. He's extraordinarily knowledgeable about the sport. My question for Gray, if we have him on next week, let's say Alabama wins the regional and we get Gray on. My question for Gray is this. Gray, it seems like most years in Oklahoma City, there's 2 or 3 teams that are just clear favorites, that are just much better than everyone else and that they're likely to win. Maybe 1 team, 2 teams, 3 teams. This year, Luke, I think any of the 8 teams that show up in Oklahoma City could win it all. There's a lot of really good teams capable of winning it all. And the supposed favorites, they lose. Oklahoma loses every now and then. Texas Tech loses every now and then. Nebraska doesn't look unbeatable to me. I think Alabama's going to have a good shot at Oklahoma City, but it's going to be hard. I agree 100% with Luke. They're a heavy favorite to get there, and they should get there based on what they've done all season long, but you still have to go out and win the games.
All right, that's going to do it for today's pod. We'll be back tomorrow with more, or maybe Sunday. Until then, roll tide, everybody.
Roll tide.